we were just talking about this client call that I had, and what was really fascinating is we went through the whole process as we
Yeah.
normally do. We started with this problem kind of around dating relationships. It was a generalized problem, but that was one of the specific triggers,
Mm.
is when they would go out, they would feel like it's either really going well or it's really going badly, and they didn't have control over it. And
Mm.
there would be this confusion that would come up that just wasn't understood. So we kind of traced it back and we got into like this sense of there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the story that was playing out and the introject that had been taken on.
Mm.
And when we followed it down, and it was kind of created when there was a perception of being left out at like school time.
Yeah.
And then the conclusion, the assumption was there's something wrong with me.
Mm.
And all of that stuff, we've kind of been through it plenty of times.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about this one is when that was given away and the new consciousness emerged, it was so pure and beautiful. It was this lightness, this playfulness, this sureness, this real value in himself.
Mm.
And then what started happening, and this is the idea I had for today, and I think what we're going to really dive into, is the because of
Right.
conditions started emerging, like almost the old mental constructs started trying to make sense of the pure value,
So this
right? So what
is
would happen?
I'm valuable because I'm special, or I'm valuable
Yeah,
because okay.
that's right.
Right.
I'm valuable because I can only bring this to relationships. Like no one else can bring that.
Yeah.
Or because I'm like, yeah, special, or I have a real good energy,
Mm.
right? Those are beautiful things that genuinely you can appreciate in yourself. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But it was conditions now for the value,
Mm.
right? And so this beautiful, pure value is being like almost, for lack of better words, corrupted by
Yeah.
conditions
Mm.
because almost the old constructs were like confused by the pure value coming out because they're in a reality that it has to be conditional. It has to be a reason for value,
Mm.
right? It can't just be inherent. And yet, what we did is we just came back to the pure value, and I just invited him back there. And those conditions were slowly able to drop away as he was just able to kind of sink into that pure value, that pure worthiness or love or whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
But that got me curious, both about your perspective, but also just this idea of how are we creating conditions for feeling valuable, feeling even attractive or loved or worthy,
Yeah.
both in general, but when we're going out and we're dating or we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things often come back to that.
Yeah. I think when people talk about being attractive or becoming attractive, I mean that was a journey that me and you went on quite extensively, actually,
Mm.
with our former mentors, or becoming magnetic, becoming charismatic. Like it always comes from that, like there has to be like a justification for it. Like I have to do this thing, I have to say this thing, I have to act this way. I can't have these types of
Mm.
thoughts. I can't act in this kind of way. And as soon as you get rid of the justifications, not from a place of like you just completely let go of reality, but you just let go of the justifications, it's actually much more freeing. And then the honest version of you authentically becomes expressed. And then you authentically
Mm.
become aligned, which makes you authentically attractive or magnetic. But something that's coming up for me when you spoke about that story is how do you actually make those two things come together when it comes to not having justifications, but also at the same time realizing that there are real world practical things which signal other people to project value or attractiveness or charisma onto you, right? So let me give
Mm.
you an example. Like some people that will be dressing in a certain way. So there's one of
Yeah.
my friends back in the country that I was just in. she dresses very much in kind of like a hipster tattoo style, right?
Mm.
And the guy that she's dating also dresses a bit like that, even though he doesn't have tattoos, but kind of that kind of style, right? Whereas someone else in a different style, if they're wearing like a nice, relaxed Italian suit, is going to attract a different archetype. Both attractive, but they have different things that people project onto you. So for the example that you gave of this guy that you're working with, how do you still like you let go of the justifications and do that internal work while still also coaching him in a way where it's like, well, you still have to like the most basic example, obviously, is super basic. You have to look someone in the eye. Like you have to look at someone. You can't just like keep on looking at your shoes, right? Because then
Yeah.
it's almost like there is still external things, but you don't have to base your value on it. I think I kind of just gave the game away with that statement there. But I'm interested to hear what your kind of how you make integrate those two things because I see so many people when they talk about effortless magnetism, it's just that kind of manifesting crowd, which we're not really the biggest fans of, where they
Mm.
just like, oh yeah, just be you and honesty is enough. But if honestly you do have low self-esteem, and that is actually was honesty coming up for you, it's not going to be very helpful. And then there's the whole other paradigm, red pill, pick up, like even just like more basic behavioral charisma on command types channels, which actually I'm a big fan of charisma and or not a big fan of, but I don't think it's too bad. It's still like so much doing and so much acting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to do this in
Absolutely.
order to do that, and I don't see the integration of it talked about too much.
Mm. Oh, yeah, that's a great point. And it's almost two different journeys, and they cross over absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think there is definitely an aspect of often when people come into their own value or
Mm,
alignment, often there is a little bit of an unlock of a charismatic version of themselves. Not always,
yeah.
but often there is. Like when you can tell when someone's really like passionate about a story and you're like invested in it. You're like, oh damn.
Yeah.
And then someone's kind of doing it on a performance
Mm,
and you're a little bit not as bothered.
mm,
So there's a lot of truth to that in some ways, right? And I think what tends to happen is they get conflated where we create these conditions, but to be valuable, I have to, like you said, have amazing body language or look people in the eye or
mm,
speak in a proper way
mm,
or style myself in a really good way.
yeah.
And I think there is a journey. In fact, our mentor um, really went on this one of like
Yeah.
unplugging from all of that and actually
Yeah.
fuck. I'm going to be attractive even if I'm not looking at you in the eye.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm not doing any of that.
Full unplugging from
Like
validation.
fully like I'm good anyway.
Yeah.
And there's something really to that that is just creates such an energetic base that
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
That you can still
Yeah,
feel to this day.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then there's also the awareness that for most, that's a hell of a journey. You know,
Yeah. It
that's
is.
not most people like 0.01% are probably going to go on that journey.
Yeah.
You know, and for many of us, we're going to go on a bit of that and really maybe ingrain our deep value in ourselves and realize that we don't have to put conditions on it, but we might want to just be aware of what's actually going to make a difference socially to how people are constructing the world. I think you put it perfectly. It doesn't have to be anything to do with our value. Our value can be here, whether we're alone on a Friday night, or we're in a beautiful relationship,
Mm,
or we're single and just thriving and everyone loves us for some reason.
yeah.
But our value can be there innately throughout all of that. And then we can be a kind of aware, like you said, that let's say we want to attract this type of person. We're all going through life with subtle judgments, a subtle
Mm,
construction of reality. We see
mm,
someone in a really colorful, vibrant dress, and I'm like, oh wow, she seems really friendly and warm. When I see someone in like all black, kind of looking down, and I'm like, oh, they seem kind of cold. could be the totally opposite. That
Yeah.
like pink, like colorful person could be really mean, and the person in the black could be like soulful, amazing, just with kind of like a D in the disc model. Like that could
Yeah.
absolutely be true. Yet I'm still judging subtly in that way.
Yeah.
And so I think when we kind of take it in, I think the key, and I'm curious if this resonates with you, is impersonal. Like it's
Mm.
actually impersonal. I'm just
Yeah.
judging people based on my previous perception of the world,
Yeah.
and I'm doing it so quickly, and it is going to lead sometimes, because I feel like energy can sometimes bust through that to some degree,
Yeah.
right? Especially someone like our mentor and
Yeah.
doing full unplugging, like
Yeah.
it's not going to be a problem. But for a lot of us, that split window where they're making an assumption about you based on what you're wearing, how you're showing up in those first few seconds is to
Mm.
some degree like a reality
Yeah. It is a
and not
reality.
something to throw away,
No.
just, but definitely not to take personally. And that's
Yeah.
really hard because sometimes we
Yeah.
tease them together
Yeah.
and we start placing it, we have to be this to be valuable because in many ways we projected them as giving them our value.
Yeah.
Like if she likes me or if he likes me,
That's
that means
exactly
I'm
what's happening.
valuable,
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like what you're
Abs-
talking about there, the biggest breakthrough, sorry to cut you off, but the biggest
okay.
breakthrough that I see when I work with, it's actually guys that I work with this kind of stuff. When it comes to value and attractiveness around women, usually the work seems to play out a bit differently. Like it's very, very internal because just the way gender dynamics are set up, at least in the Western world, is that if you're a woman, most likely you are the one that is going to get approached much more. So if you have a more inviting energy or you have an internal shift, it's like much bigger of like an immediate, oh, something's going to happen because people are going to be asking you. And then if your internal world levels up, then the people asking you out are also going to be matching that same energy. I don't mean it in a mystical way, but I just mean if you're really warm and compassionate, then other people who are warm and compassionate also like that more, and you'll kind of turn off people with less integrity. But when it comes
Yeah.
to like the men, the biggest thing which levels them up from going from like not feeling attractive or not even being able to put themselves out there, not even going to be able to talk to a grandma on the street to ask for the time. That was me back in the day, right? When you're not even able to do that, the not taking it personally is the biggest breakthrough you can have that's fully ingrained. And the way breakthroughs work internally is like an onion. It's like layer after layer after layer. You can come back to the same breakthrough and it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And really, it's kind of infinite in terms of like how deep that can go because it levels up with each developmental level, developmental psychology level that you go through, the different stages you go through, different shadows get cleared up, then affect this shadow, and you're like, wow, I can see this in a whole different way. But it's the not taking things personally. So that also means when someone does find you charismatic or magnetic or attractive, that's also not personal too.
Yeah.
You have to also let go of
Absolutely.
that as well. And it's funny you talked about unplugging from validation because that is the thing that's here.
Yeah.
If you really need another person's validation, approval, in order for you to know your worth, it's kind of like most people are playing this game of echolocation, where they're like saying, I'm here, and they're seeing like
Mm.
what comes back to them. Like, oh, this person likes me, this person doesn't, this person doesn't. And that's how they kind of like view, like build themselves, build their image. If you just stop echolocating and you start actually paying attention to what you want to do and what you value. And it's not just like a happy go lucky like practice where you're going to see all of this cool stuff. You are going to see a lot of cool stuff. What you're actually going to see is a lot of your own failures, your own limitations, how you're actually getting in your own way. Because you're being honest with yourself now. You're saying, oh, wait, like, I don't actually want to do that. And the reason that I don't want to do that is because I want this other person to like me.
Mm.
The reason I'm wearing this is because I thought it would, like, for example, I thought it was going to attract the right person into my life. It's not actually because I
Mm.
really like it that much. And there's a place for that too. Like there's always a place to integrate strategy. Like if you're going to an underground rave, am I going to come in a three-piece suit? Maybe I will for the banter, but it'll be for banter. It won't be like because I'm actually expecting to get, any kind of shared reality with the people that I'm around,
Yeah,
When I start talking to
absolutely.
them, it'll probably go away, but the initial impression will not be something of a shared reality. They'll be like, why is there this uncle at this party? Right?
Yeah,
But it comes down to that unplugging from what other people think of you, which is what we learned from our mentor Pierre de Souza, unplugging from validation. Because the thing that kills like this idea of effortless attraction or attraction through honesty is attraction through dishonesty.
mm,
And dishonesty is when you're not actually being aligned with who you are and what you want and what you
yeah,
actually want to do. You're just so plugged in to what everyone around you is thinking of you and feeling about you. And that comes from so many different sources, doesn't it? But to go back to this breakthrough that you had at the start of the call, how did that journey look for this guy that you're working with?
yeah. Actually, what's really cool is we had the second call today, like literally a couple of hours ago. So it's really starting to become embedded.
Nice.
And one of the things he mentioned, which I thought was really cool, is he was just sitting in this beautiful place. He's traveling at the moment.
Mm,
And he was like, "Oh, I'm actually just seeing outside of me
mm,
and not thinking about what's inside of me."
yeah.
Like I was actually just my focus, not as a focus, but just naturally was going outside in the sense of like, this is cool, like this place is beautiful, this is wonderful, instead of monitoring himself so much.
Mm,
And I don't know about you, I'm sure it's possibly similar, but at times where I maybe felt really assured in myself, I just stopped thinking about myself. It
yeah.
wasn't something
Yeah.
that I was even bothered about. I would just, I would be curious about them, excited to meet them. And that would always lead to often amazing experiences.
Mm,
And and that seems to be what's happening with this guy is the value, the assuredness, the confidence is becoming more and more innate,
mm,
that it's not about him anymore. There's a fullness there. People in that community often talk about the full cup, and there's a truth there. It's like a fullness
mm,
that it kind of comes out, and it's all like, oh, well, what's here? And it becomes a play. It becomes fun. It's not about the conditions of being enough or being valuable.
mm,
And then we might become curious about those small things like style as a playful thing.
mm,
What happens like if I go into this community with this kind of style? And it can be experimental, or you can just go with whatever's really authentic for you at that moment and see what happens.
yeah.
But it just no longer seems to create so much of a identity or a
Yeah.
condition or a projection.
Yeah.
Uh, and the funny thing is, as well, is you spoke about it a little bit before, not getting so excited when people are like in love with you for whatever reason, because most likely
Mm,
it's like if they're really in awe, really like, oh wow, look at you, it's
yeah.
probably just their golden projection. Like
Yeah.
they're just
It's a
seeing
golden
themselves,
projection. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
They're actually
they're
falling in
just,
love with themselves. Yeah.
yeah, like just let them fall in love with it. Because, and I don't know, but I feel like you can feel that when
Mm,
someone's really in awe of you, you're a little bit like, all
mm,
right, bro. Or you almost want to, part of you can sometimes be anxious to live up to whatever they're projecting on you.
yeah.
It's a little bit of a weird dynamic,
Yeah.
but it seems to always come back to what is it out there that I'm, like you said, using as that kind of echo communication
Mm,
of, am I valuable? Am I good enough? Am I this? And then when that's re-owned, it just becomes meeting someone.
yeah. So how would you, if someone's struggling with that, what would you say to them?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think it can be tricky because often it's a lot very emotional, right? It's
Yeah,
like really means a lot and it's really intense, but we've got to start with curiosity.
yeah,
So if we're trying to fix something, it's going to get a little sticky. But we might just get curious, especially often I've noticed with clients and with myself, that pull,
mm,
like they almost come into an environment and maybe there's someone like a few people that they like the look of, like she's really attractive, she's very beautiful, and they
mm,
almost like fall over energetically.
yeah,
Like it's like they're pulled out of their body
yeah,
and they lose their center of self because it's now, oh, did she look at me? She looked at me for
yeah,
1 second. Was she looking at me or was she like just, did she actually look at me? Did she like me? And it's like, oh, what do they think about me? I think there's two aspects. Like, what is being curious? What is happening here? What is it in there that I actually want? And you might be like, oh, well, I want to be with her. She's so beautiful. Da, da, da.
mm,
Okay. And what would that actually get me?
yeah,
I would feel good about myself.
mm,
Huh. What do you mean by that? Good about yourself in what way? Well, I suppose if I was with a really beautiful girl, I'd feel kind of worthy or valuable or cool. And now almost that energy comes back because we're no longer using kind of using someone to get our own internal hit,
mhm,
and we can get curious about what that quality might be, and then we can become really just wondering what if that quality of value in ourselves or worthiness, how did we how did it get out there, like what happened,
mm,
and we can trace that back. Maybe we were real young and we took on ideas about the world that we weren't good enough, we weren't worthy, or to be good enough, we have to be with someone really attractive or be this amazing man.
mm,
And we can start to see how we're kind of constructing it. And we can get both to the introject, the kind of false truth we took on, and give that back. And then we might just notice the reowning of the gold, the
mm,
treasure, whether it's value or worth or love, whatever the word might be,
mhm,
and just notice that coming back to ourselves.
yeah. What would you say to the I think this is what you're talking about, but what I also see, actually one of the guys that I'm working with right now on this, is there's also like a pedestalization of beauty, but
Mm,
not a pedestalization of beauty just for the beauty's sake, but in terms of there's a pedestalization of beauty, and then because of that pedestalization, their opinion or that person's opinion is therefore valued higher. So it's not just the
right.
fact that beauty is above, but it means that anyone who I find attractive or that I think is beautiful also has, in some ways, a higher sway of my
Mm,
self-image than I do. Is that what
yeah,
you're speaking about too?
absolutely. I mean, what I'm hearing there is like there's beauty, which is just a positive quality. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of beautiful things. That plant's beautiful. I probably shouldn't listen to it, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah,
And yet now we've seemed to, if I'm hearing correctly, like constructed a hierarchy where beauty equals value or worth or kind of power even
yeah. It's
over
power.
me.
Power is the one. Yeah, it's like that
Yeah,
thing now has power. It possesses this
yeah,
unknown quality, like this exotic quality now. Like this
yeah.
aspect of beauty or sensuality or sexuality or sex or whatever that
Mm,
is now something which is like the exotic East. You know, if I was like a professor from the 1980s in history, speaking
yeah.
about Orientalism or whatever, like it's like some exotic other thing. And then it just creates a divide
Mm,
between you and your sensuality, right?
yeah,
Your sexiness,
absolutely.
men included, right? Beauty,
Yeah.
handsomeness, whatever. Like all of that stuff now is shut off from you because you've now projected it outside and put it on a pedestal. So not only is it a
Mm,
fantasy, it's higher than you and it's not part of you. So if all of these
yeah.
qualities are not no longer part of you, sensualness, sexiness, what's another one? Like sultriness, I guess, sexuality, like sexual power, whatever that
Like
is,
grace. Grace is another one that sometimes comes up.
grace, exactly, beauty, like that kind of ethereal just quality.
Mm.
Sometimes when you're attracted, all of that stuff now is shut off from you. But if you
Yeah,
don't shut that off, and now you're allowing these qualities to just flow through you, what do you think that does to effortless magnetism, charisma, attractiveness?
yeah.
What do you think that
Abs
does to that?
I mean, hearing that is like that. See, even slightly different of a quality to it. Like that's even less about worth and almost re-owning those qualities that often we kind of split away from ourselves when
Mm,
we're kind of constructed by society as male and female.
hmm
We often put those outside of us, like you said, the power and the beauty and the sensualness, the sexualness.
yeah,
But noticing when that comes back, now there's not something in me that I put out there that can be gained
mm,
from this interaction.
yeah,
And that's such a different way of doing it.
yeah,
And actually being in relationship or being social,
yeah,
because we're not coming from a split in us. Instead, we're coming from fullness, which is
yeah,
just really, really different.
yeah. And it's different in the sense of like let's talk about the situation that every guy's afraid of. They go and they speak to a woman they're interested in, and she just tells them to fuck off, right? Happened a few
Yep.
times with me and you, right? More than a few times, right?
Yep.
Now, it happened to
Absolutely.
me all the times from over the spectrum where that really, really mattered. When that really, really mattered to me, but because I was in such a social flow and momentum, I wasn't getting affected by it.
Mm.
Then, when it was less important to me, but it was still kind of half and half, less important, still half and half, and I was in a social flow. And then it's nowadays where I don't have any of those projections really at all anymore, right? I'm not saying that out of arrogance. Like the journey me and Cameron have gone on has made that possible. There's so many hours we put into just practicing
Mm.
socializing and getting used to that kind of stuff. Throughout that spectrum, the less energy I put into that, the more I was able to see that interaction or those things for what it is, which is the other person being very uncalibrated, the
Yeah.
other person having a bad day, the other person just not interested in, right? And then even able to see the positives in that. Like, for example, oh, I like how they're being honest. I like how they're not afraid to mince their words. I like how they're putting a direct boundary. I like how they're not afraid of my opinion of them, right? At least in this sense, from what I can see. And when you
Yeah.
can see all of that, it's like the openness of that experience is just like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
Mm.
actually, that reaction, like, it doesn't bother you at all, right? And then sometimes what can happen is because it's clear that you're not bothered by that, the other person can calm down a bit. And they're like, oh, sorry, I
Mm.
thought you were this type of person. You know, happens. I thought you were just
Yeah.
trying to sell me something, or I thought that this was going to happen. And then you can come together. Whereas before, when I was taking it really personally, I would never like get angry at the other person. I would just get angry at myself. Much more of an
Yeah.
insulated, like much more of an insulated process. But it would really, really affect me. But that's because I was looking at it in a very egocentric way. Oh, this must mean something about me, my value,
Mm.
my worth. I must not be good enough. That's a very egocentric way to
Mm.
think. But what is your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I absolutely relate.
Yeah,
And hearing just the way you put it, of like, after you go through that journey and it doesn't affect you, you're able to even see the positive qualities.
yeah,
It's just really cool because there are like, it's in that situation, it's really cool that they feel they can have that emotional expression. Maybe
yeah,
it's not the best way to do to some random
yeah,
person with good intentions, but they do have
yeah.
the expression. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people feel stifled in that.
It also doesn't mean that you're like a doormat and you just let people
No.
mistreat you
Yeah.
because you're just like, okay,
Absolutely.
bye. And you just like walk
Yeah.
away, basically.
Yeah.
Have a nice day,
Absolutely.
whatever. Doesn't mean that you have to stay there and like take it, No,
Yeah.
you just have to. That's a funny choice of words, isn't it? Bit of a Freudian slip
Right.
there, mate.
That's right.
Um, But it doesn't mean that you become like a. That's what people are really afraid of a lot of the time. Yeah, especially guys like, oh, I
Mm,
have to really show them that I'm not that person, or I have to. I'm the type of man that doesn't take any bullshit. Right? That used to be
right.
a
Yeah.
staple in some of the communities we were in.
Yeah.
And then really what it was is that they were a man that used to take that bullshit and they were afraid of that.
Mm,
And then they had
yeah.
to state it. It doesn't mean you like become that person. It just means that you no longer are affected by the emotional state of somebody else. Which, if
Mm,
you take the most like hardcore mainstream version of not mainstream, hardcore red pill version of masculinity, it still adds to masculinity, that form, being
mm,
unreactive. And then if you take the softest version of masculinity, which you could even say disowns a lot of proportions about male values or masculine values, whatever you want to call it, it still adds to that one too. It goes the
yeah.
whole spectrum, right? Being, oh, okay, no worries, you know? And then, because you can see the positive qualities, you're in a state of compassion,
Yeah.
peace, calm, unreactiveness. But I feel like I'm going a bit off topic. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, even what you were mentioning, like with um, I need to show them. I need to. They can't speak
Yeah,
to me like that. And
yeah.
a word that often comes up
It
associated
just
with that
makes
is
me
like,
laugh because I think of the
yeah,
people that used to say that, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And a classic sentence like, they need to respect me. Like,
Ah,
respect is a big one.
yeah. Respect is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, that respect is your respect, whatever that means for you, right? Respect, power, whatever, is put out there for them to just stomp on whenever they want. Because internally, you've gone, if they are mean or use unkind words or harsh tonality or are what we would perceive as rude, they're stomping on my respect. And we've constructed a world in that way.
Yeah.
When if we can re-own that and have just almost deep respect for ourselves, whatever that means for us, power, have that inside, like you were sharing,
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter. Then we actually can be truly in our power, in our own respect, because their emotional experience doesn't have to have an effect.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy to get to. It's really hard
Hmm.
because so often we can internalize our emotional experience in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I'm bad, they don't respect me, they must think I'm trash, like whatever it is,
Mm.
right? They don't love me.
Mm.
Except when we stop doing that, it just it's like water off a duck's back, and that they can't. It's not even that they can't hold that. It's just it doesn't do anything,
Yeah. It's
and that's a
you
big,
become the type of person where that can't do anything to you. It's
yeah,
almost like how could like if a small how could something like that affect you when you can see it with that clearly that it doesn't have anything to do with you at all,
yeah,
has nothing to do with you. And again, if we come back to taking it personally, like the person I'm working with at the moment has made really good progress on that. But every time like he has like a an issue, let's say, around not getting respect, not feeling like he's attractive or something not going the right way, always comes down to taking it too personally, like
mm,
and it's like, okay. And always, always, always the solution is to be like is to calm it down and then detach any kind of personal storyline you have with what's going on there, like
yeah,
anything. Now it's still like a very like when you're meeting somebody or when you're talking to people, it's still very like feeling based because that's kind of how you communicate. If you just communicate logically with somebody, then it's like you're missing a whole dynamic that's going on, and especially when it comes to attraction or finding love, that's a very like feeling based thing. So maybe something we could dive into now is actually we're not trying to become emotionally constipated robots, to coin that phrase.
no,
How do you integrate those two?
yeah, that's a great point. I think if I just come into my own personal journey here,
Mm,
and that's been a challenge, you know,
yeah.
at times of like wanting to be deeply in love and intimacy, but also feeling that conflate with being more reactive to the emotional experience. And I thought they were like conflicting
Mm,
in some ways, but at least from what I'm seeing more of, I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of the stories around love and intimacy, and I think this is quite universal because we're often fed similar stories. Like it feels just so intense, man, just so intense for love.
mm,
Often is built around like projection and golden projection.
yeah.
And almost when that stuff's reowned, like we've just been speaking about, you know, the last 40 minutes or so, it seems to make space for like this pure love
Mm,
to come through and an intimacy, but in a very, it's almost in a lighter way where we're able to meet people and express fully, but there's this lightness that it doesn't carry all the old stories. You know, it's almost playful. Like if it kind
mm.
of makes me think of, you know, when you first meet someone, and especially in UK culture, it's very like the flirtiness is kind of sometimes harsh and mean, and we're kind of having
Oh,
emotional
yeah.
reactions, but it doesn't mean anything.
No.
And like that's the fun of it. And when you come back and you're like talking to someone who's from the UK and you can really get into that, it's super fun because you can actually really range on the emotional expression. And you
Yeah.
both are understanding that it actually doesn't mean
It's just banter.
anything in that way. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just banter. It's just part of it's just we're just having fun here and we're playing with it. And in some ways that seems to be what's happening here when it doesn't mean so much, when my identity isn't fused with their
Yeah.
emotional experience or with my own. We can almost play at the edges of that
Mm,
in a safe way.
yeah.
But what would you say about that?
There was a time when I used to be so afraid of speaking to somebody that I felt my body would literally shut off when I went to go to
Mm.
say something to them,
Mm.
right? I think you know what that feeling is.
Yeah.
And it's because there was a healthy amount of innocence, right?
Mm.
There was a healthy amount of shadow, but there was also a healthy amount of me attaching my identity to how well this next interaction would be, how well I would be
Yeah.
received, right? In anything.
Mm.
And when you learn to stop attaching those two things, like with the guy I'm working on, that's a big thing. And any guys that I work on when it comes to dating, romantic relationships, this is all a big part of it, is that attachment is not just like how things are. Like you don't actually have to attach your identity to anything, although we do, and it's somewhat functional in a lot of cases. But it's the breaking down of this has to mean something about me that really makes something effortless.
Mm.
Because if this doesn't actually mean anything about you, remember, we're not then making our identity about this doesn't mean anything about us. There is just a lack.
Yeah.
Like my identity is not. Like if you follow Advaita Vedanta, this is when we lose all of our listeners right now. If we start talking about Advaita Vedanta, right? What did you start off with? Advaita Vedanta is like self-inquiry, the Hindu practice of meditation, of yoga. But it's not yoga like stretching yoga. It's yoga as in like meditation. It starts off with
Mm.
I am, like I am that, and that's it. You don't have a description of the self, and then it progresses to I am not. I am not that. We're actually going one step further, which is I, or there's just nothing.
Mm.
There is nothing.
Yeah.
Like the identity is not attached, I don't then make my attention and my identity around the fact that I'm detached from validation, or my identity isn't
Mm,
detached from that,
yeah.
because then you turn into people who just spiritually bypass, which happens a lot in the
Mm,
community, in the niche of the internet that me and you are in, where people they bypass their needs, they bypass their desires, they bypass their shadows, creates cult-like behavior, creates arrogance, creates intellectual and spiritual narcissism. All of that stuff, which
mm,
is not good just for themselves, and it's definitely not good for effortless attraction because the people you will attract with that are very, very dependent on you, and it won't be good for you long term. But you will have plenty of partners because there are plenty of people who fall on the other spectrum of that. You'll basically not attract everyone as who's healthy and everyone who's even
mm.
remotely healthy. But the crowd you're really going to crush it for are the people that are really unhealthy, and you'll be at the top of that. So if
Someone's
that's the
listening
path,
to this and
yeah,
like
and it's like making notes, you know.
selling this, you're selling me on
I
this
don't
right
want to
now.
be everyone's cup of tea. I want to be somebody's shot of vodka, is basically what that person's thinking right now.
Yeah.
Um, if that's a path you want to go down, go for it. I don't condone it, but that's how that ends. But if we come back to the point, which is we just don't let our identity be anything that can be affected, and there are ways to do that. Obviously, the coaching that me and you offer, it's all centered around that. That's basically everything is around that, but we work
Yeah.
with other things first. Then effortlessness just arises. Remember, effortless. So it's not effort, it's not no effort, there is no effort. So it's without effort, like without limit. It's the lack. So there's just
Mm,
an open space there. From that, everything becomes very easy because you don't have expectations, you don't have assumptions, you don't have, oh, it has to go this way. You don't limit yourself in any way. You don't have any constructs in any way. Whilst also you're not disowning stuff like strategy, tactics, principles, because you're also not saying that none of
yeah.
that stuff matters. You're just letting it be there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
And I think I mean, that goes beyond anything we've spoken about today as of a core thing of, I think almost a core principle of when that space is there, when you've dissolved the meaning of something, it doesn't need to be filled in.
No.
We don't need to add more meaning or create a meaning that it's meaningless
Yeah.
because that's just a meaning
Yeah.
that we've created.
Hmm.
And like you said, that space that just is there isn't judging if you're using strategy, but it's also not making you not authentic. You're just able to show up as you are.
Mm.
And it's not even seeing you as valuable, it's just not seeing you as invaluable. You
Mm.
know, it's like, so it's not even asking the question.
It's beyond those questions. When you're beyond
Yeah.
the question of value,
Yeah.
like think about this for a minute. It's not about saying I am good enough. Although that is a stage you have to go through. Remember, you can't like skip stages, really, unless you want to be really disintegrated. But when that's no longer even a statement to be questioned, like value, like what do you mean? Like, oh, do I have
Yeah.
eyes? Like, what do you mean I'm seeing right now? I have them,
Mm,
right? Like,
yeah.
you're just so secure in that thing because there's no lack of security. Also means there's no
Yeah.
security. There's nothing to be secure in because there's nothing to be insecure about.
Yeah.
It's like it's a real part of just becoming somebody who, to coin a term that our mentor called his business now, unshakable, right?
Yeah.
It's really unshakable. Like, because if you put any kind of like label or it's just any kind of label is a limitation eventually. Eventually is a limitation because now there's something which like you're building yourself to and it's very functional because when in that
Mm,
building process it's very like necessary to have that like golden star, like oh like that I'm going this way, but at some point it has to go because if that's still there, there'll always be like a little bit of reactivity because there's
yeah.
always something to like live up to. There's always something, no matter how expansive the thing is, there's always something to kind of move yourself into. which is actually kind of
Absolutely.
what's happening to your client, right? When he
Yeah.
got into that open space, like he kept on trying to like pull it back down with like, oh, it means this, it means I am special,
Mm.
that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, even if we take the journey over 2 sessions now, the first thing was I am valuable, wonderful, because of stop doing that.
Yeah.
But we come back. No, no. Just what happens if you just come back to that? Oh, I actually. Oh yeah, I am pure, fully valuable, and I can sit in that. And he got to that stage, like you said, that I am good enough. I am valuable. But
Mm,
then even now in this session, he didn't really come up. He's just looking like in awe of the world, like, oh wow, this world is wonderful to be in and play with.
mm,
He's not thinking about himself. He's not asking the question, am I valuable? He's not saying he's not valuable. It's not being asked. It's not being questioned. It's not
yeah.
an insecurity anymore. And because of that, all that energy that was being used to ask a pointless question, pointless in the sense that absolutely we don't need it, but very real that we may go through it. But instead, that energy is being used to explore the world and
Mm,
explore what's right in front of us, what we're seeing or experiencing, relationships we might want to have, connections,
mm,
instead of going inwards when it's unnecessary at times.
yeah. Do you have any parting remarks about what we just spoke about? Anything that you feel like we haven't gone into detail about?
I think we covered what feels relevant for me. I'm curious if there's anything arising for you.
Maybe just we could go, oh, maybe just what's coming up for me is like, how do we actually integrate everything that's on the internet here? There are some people that's like manifesting, there's some people just behaviors, there's some people using manipulation tactics, let's be honest, right?
Mm,
There are some people just talking about image, right? The looks maxers out there, that kind of stuff. Like, they're all kind of pointing to the same thing in some ways, aren't they? Like being above the game.
mm, mm,
That's a phrase that I
yeah,
hear talked about a lot, like being above the game.
mm,
But
yeah.
maybe we could just give, because that's really a topic for another podcast, isn't it? Being above the game. Is there anything that just comes up for you around that statement?
Yeah, I suppose, like, if I think of being above the game, it would be almost that phase of if I'm above the game, I might be like, I am valuable, I am good enough.
Mm,
But then when I stop asking the question, then there's almost a seeing through of the game.
yeah,
I think you were speaking about it a lot today, maybe not in those terms,
yeah,
but in seeing through the game is in more ways powerful and
yeah.
even trying to being above it,
And not judging it as well when people are in it.
not
Yeah.
judging at all.
That
Yeah,
was the thing that my intuition was telling me about actually, the judgment. Like we're not judging any of this stuff. It's all kind of
yeah,
necessary. If someone needs to go through the looks maxing journey and be really toxic, right? Someone might actually need to go through that. I would say
yeah.
it's probably better that people don't go through that. But maybe somebody needs
Mm,
to live out like all of those shadows to be like, oh, that isn't the case. So there's one guy actually, a guy called Androgenic, who used to be super into that. And now he talks about love and compassion while still actually saying that looks are important and looks maxing and all that kind of stuff, right? So he still has echoes of it. But he's like, isn't just like he was saying something where he's like, isn't just letting other people who treated you badly in the past that made you go on this journey, isn't that them mocking you still? Because you can't let go of it and you have
mm,
to prove them wrong, right? So still like using all that language. But that's a great
yeah,
example that you don't want to ever be judgmental because sometimes people have to go through that. And we're not being judgmental, like saying that this is like the best way to, this is the best way to do it, and that other people like don't really know what they're talking about. It's all valuable and it's all trying to get to that stage. It's just about if we can strip away like the different strategies of what people are telling and actually get to the core root of what you want, which is for this to be effortless for you and you don't have to think about it anymore, then the path becomes very clear to get there.
yeah.